Hi everyone, in today's video I'm going to look at using an iPad for professional workflows. Before we jump into using the iPad as part of your workflow, a little history of my usage of an iPad as a photographer. I picked up the 11-inch Pro model back when it first released and actually edited a lot of weddings on it, start to finish, culled on it, edited on it and then finalised the exports on my iMac. My son now has that iPad. How spoiled is that, by the way? 9 years old and has a £1,000 iPad. He's living his best life. Tobias has that iPad as I purchased the 12.9 XDR iPad Pro, which you can see here. It's a beautiful piece of kit and I actually love editing on it. The whole tactile editing experience with the touch screen and Apple Pencil is a joy. Currently I only use the iPad in a wedding workflow viewpoint when doing same day previews. I'll remove the SD cards from the cameras, plug them into the iPad, fire up Lightroom CC, import 40-60 photos, edit them, export the camera roll and give the iPad to the couple to view the previews, which always goes down really well. Once they've viewed them, I'll transfer the images to their phones over AirDrop if they're on the Apple camp. If they're using Android, they can wait till the next day when I upload a gallery. The final use of the iPad at weddings is to have it float the room. I encourage the couple to pass it round. Sometimes the couple take it round and show every table. This has a massive marketing effect. People at weddings are often getting married themselves at some point. They've seen me work all day and then they get to see the quality of the photography I put out. If they think I'm cool and the images are great, it leaves a very good impression, and in fact, it's like having an under the radar audition to be their photographer. I get a lot of leads from word of mouth, so it does work exactly as I've just described. So that's the use case for the iPad at present. I no longer edit the full wedding on it. On the 14th of January 2022, I purchased the MacBook Pro 14-inch. I love the iPad, but I always miss the capabilities of an actual machine. If Apple ever put macOS on an iPad, oh my days, take my money now. But for now they don't. So I have my MacBook hooked up to a 27-inch monitor as I was getting a bit sick of looking at a small screen, so all my editing is now done sitting or standing at my desk in front of this large monitor. In the past I've even culled an entire wedding with the iPad whilst walking on a treadmill at the gym. Now that's killing two birds with one stone. So a few things to talk about when it comes to using an iPad for photography workflows. First up is speed. The iPad is ridiculously fast. It's one of the main things I love about editing on the iPad. The real-time changes on the photo as you scrub the sliders is fantastic. The whole experience makes you want to edit on it. Another great feature of editing on an iPad, especially the XDR version, is the screen. The brightness and dynamic range you get on the XDR iPad is amazing. Blacks are true black and the overall quality of the screen is industry leading. Apple products are always fantastic, we all know this. Now the drawback, and the main reason I don't use my iPad as an everyday driver anymore, is the size and the weight. Comparing the iPad to my 14-inch MacBook, they're pretty much identical in size and weight, and I'd much rather have the full capabilities of macOS than iPadOS. The price is also a key factor. I have the iPad XDR 12.9-inch as mentioned, an Apple Pencil and the Magic Keyboard. Total cost around £1,600 to £1,700. I paid £1,900 for my MacBook Pro, only £200 to £300 more for a MacBook with loads more capabilities. So that's pretty much why I don't use the iPad to edit anymore, apart from when I'm at weddings. I loved using the iPad when going to coffee shops, travelling places, even editing while in a tent once during camping. It's versatile and easy to use, but when my MacBook is the same size, practically, and similar in weight, there's just no reason to take the iPad. That's a little history of my use case, when and why I use the iPad and why I don't use it much now within my workflow. The next part of this video will look back at my previous workflow for editing on the go for those who don't have a MacBook and want to use the iPad as a daily driver and integrate it 100% into their workflow. So let's dive in. So now I'm going to give you a little walkthrough of the workflow I would use if I wanted to use my iPad in conjunction with a MacBook or an iMac, for example, and you're going to go out and about and you want to edit on the go. Now obviously if you only have an iPad we can hook up the SD card reader, plug it in, card into the reader, import, and off you go. You will need a bigger storage on your iPad when you first purchase this. Otherwise, if you've only got 128 gigabytes, that local storage is going to fill up quite quick. But we're going to look at it using a computer system and the iPad as an auxiliary. So if you've got an iMac or any other sort of Mac that isn't portable, this is a great workflow. So if I go onto the computer, I've got a folder here called iPad Workflow RAWs. So these are 4 images from a wedding I've just finished editing. So I'm going to open these up in Classic. Okay, we have the import window. So we've got a drag queen, people dancing at the end, bride looking in the mirror, boys standing with the cigars. Build minimal previews, build smart previews. Now, smart previews must be enabled in order for this to work. So we're going to hit import wherever your folder is. In this instance, it says iPad Workflow RAWs. I'm going to right click, create a collection, and then call it whatever you want. Just make sure sync with Lightroom is enabled. So we're going to hit sync with Lightroom. That'll create a collection down here, and then that is going to start firing those 4 images, the smart previews, up to the cloud. So if I come over to my iPad, open Lightroom, we should see them download to the iPad in real time. So you can see the syncing button here, syncing 4 photos, and now it's just a case of waiting for them to sync over to the iPad. It shouldn't take too long, guys. Okay, they're starting to come in. It took about 15-20 seconds. So if you've got an entire set, might take about an hour, but once they're up there, you can take your iPad, go anywhere you want in the world. If you're going on a 6-hour train journey, for example, take your iPad and you can edit on the go, which is what I used to do, but don't need to do it anymore because I've got my MacBook. But again, this video is if you have a stationary Mac product and your iPad. So we'll go over to the iPad now and let's do some editing. So we have the 4 images. Let's just start with the first one. So I'm just going to click on it. We're going to hit the preset and pretty much good to go. I've worked very hard on my preset in order to get it so it's pretty much one click. So you can see it works really well with my Sony files. I mean, I'm good to go there, but we could do, if we wanted to, we could get the brush. This is what I like about the iPad, it's so quick. We can just draw in live, come over here, drop the highlights. This is what I mean about the scrubbing. I mean, how cool is that? So I'm going to increase the clarity. I'm going to add a bit of color into these. Let's take down some sharpening, so we'll blur it out a little bit more. And then what I'm going to do, create a radial gradient. Let's flip that. So I don't do this too much for now, but I'm just obviously showing on the iPad what we can do. And that will sync back to the computer. So, and again, another quick photograph. I'm going to probably rotate a little bit. I hate wonky buildings. So again, this sort of photograph, while we're on the subject, you can see I've stepped back. I've got all 4 lads in, including their feet. I hate seeing this all the time. I see it all the time on Instagram and elsewhere. Someone will have took a photograph like this, and you've got 3 or 4 people with their toes chopped off. Just take a little step back, guys. It's not hard. So let's undo that. And then again, if I've exposed the scene, that's already updated on the computer, by the way. That image just now came in on the computer. So again, if I update the computer, it'll sync it back to the iPad. So, I mean, we could do that. Let's go to develop on the computer. Let's hit black and white so we can see that's changed. Just waiting for pfixer to load on the computer. Quit. Right, there we go. So if I just pull that down, there we go. And we'll just wait for that to sync. So you'll see that in a minute on the iPad, thumbnail at the bottom. So for this boy's photo, color, pretty much done. This is what I mean about one click. If I've got the exposure pretty much correct in camera, it saves me a lot of work. I mean, we could do, just to tax the iPad a bit, let's do some select subjects, so a little bit of AI, and let's bring them up a tad bit, maybe. There we go. And then let's go back. So it still hasn't updated yet. It's still colour on the computer, on the iPad. So we're just waiting for that to load in, but it will load at some point. Maybe I need to click onto another photo. There we go. Ah, there we go. So it's just loaded in, no problem. So you can see it just floats between, nice and easy. So if you're working on a train, do all your edits, bish bash bosh, get them done. By the time you get home, they're already on your system. If your system's not open, you will have to wait for the smart previews to re-download the edits. Again, let's throw the colour on, and then let's just pull the temperature back a little bit. Again, I'm going to just select subject, and I'm just going to create what I call a subject pop. So I'm just going to increase the exposure about 0.3, highlights up a little bit, and then that's good to go. Let's get rid of that. And then one last one, let's make this dance floor shot look pretty cool. Let's center the image. So I'm going to use the chandelier as the center point. Let's put on the preset. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the shadows, and then I'm going to put the blacks down a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is select subject on all of the subjects, and I'm going to pull the shadows down to create a bit more of a silhouette effect on the people. And now what I'm going to do is drive the temperature up, because I want to create this colourful orange effect. And what I'm going to do is add in a brush. I'm going to turn this part of the photo with the lights, maybe it's even up here, and then just increase the colours, a bit more saturation, and I'm going to drive the highlights up a little bit and pull the exposure down, create a bit more of a silhouetted image. Pretty cool, nice. So those are the 4 images, very quick edit. Once they're done, they go back to the cloud, down to your machine, and that's pretty much how I use an iPad if I was using the system and an iPad together like I used to edit. So when I used to take this to Costa or the gym, that's exactly what I would do. I would get home, and you can already see on the system now, so if I go to grid mode, you can see that editor's loaded in. So is this one, so is that one, and we're just waiting on this image to load in as well. But pretty much by the time you get home, it should all be there. So I hope this video helps, guys. This part of it hasn't been scripted, so hopefully it's not too waffly. But yeah, hit me up with what you guys would like to see as videos, because I struggle a little bit sometimes to try and think of what you guys would like to see. So again, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.